I'd like to take us on a little bit of a journey. When I was a chaplain at Queen's, I used to ask the students to allow their eyes to fall shut. If you're not driving a car at the moment, maybe you can do that. And then I want to take you to that place in the world that you would love to be now, that lockdown has prevented you from getting to. The place in the world that you find most beautiful, extraordinary, where you feel a sense of calm. Imagine that place now, and you're in that place, gazing out at all that's there, taking in God's imagination. Think about that. The imagination of God to make all the different things you're seeing. Come up with all the colours, all the tones, all the shapes and sizes, putting them all together. Bask in the wonder of God's imagination and give Him thanks and praise for that for a moment in the silence. There are times in our lives when we just need to breathe in the goodness of God, the greatness of God, the faithfulness of God. That scene that we're in at this moment in time in our imagination has been there for many, many years and will be there for many years after us. Isaiah put it well. Who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, or with the breadth of his hand marked out the heavens? Who has held the dust of the earth in a basket, or weighed the mountains in the scales and the hills in a balance? God, continue to take in that scene that you're in. And then I want you to just look to your left, because as you look to your left, wherever you're standing, or walking, or sitting, Jesus is right beside you. Jesus, right there, beside you. How does that feel? It's good to see him. A few things to confess, questions to ask him, or just Emmanuel, God is with us and we're going through this and I'm struggling. And Lord, for a moment or two, just walk with Jesus through the scene, or sit with Jesus, or stand with him. See how the conversation goes. In Matthew 11, we hear about Jesus asking the disciples to come to him. Keep your eyes shut. He asked the disciples to come to him if they're heavy laden. Eugene Peterson paraphrases it beautifully. With your eyes shut and Jesus beside you, listen as Jesus says these words directly to you. Are you tired, worn out, burnt out in religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Jesus beside you, asking you to take on the unforced rhythms of grace, to take off the heavy load. Sit, stand, walk with Jesus, and continue that conversation for a moment. good to know Emmanuel, God with us. And in that beautiful scene where we're basking in the imagination of God, and in this moment where Jesus is right beside us, listen as he maybe changes the direction of the conversation. He's going to quote, isn't that interesting? Jesus quoting Paul. Philippians chapter 2, again, Eugene Peterson's paraphrase, but how apt for this year's Four Corners Festival. Go out into the world uncorrupted, a breath of fresh air in this squalid and polluted society. Provide people with a glimpse of good living and of the living God. Carry the light giving message into the night, so I'll have good cause to be proud of you on the day that Christ returns. You'll be living proof that I didn't go to all this work for nothing. Jesus calling us right beside us, in our imaginations with our eyes still shut, to be a breath of fresh air across our society, to give a light giving message, proof of who he was and what he did. Walk again with Jesus and consider those words that he shared with you as you walk, as you sit, as you stand. It's time for Jesus to leave you in person, and you're alone again in your most beautiful scene. Look around at it again in your imagination. Consider God's imagination. Consider the power and the strength of the scene before you, as well as the majesty and the beauty. And realize that having spent some time with Jesus, you're connected with the Creator. Where is Jesus in this pandemic? Someone asked. And a friend of mine answered where he's been since the beginning. In Genesis 1, God hovering over the darkness and the void, creating, imagining. I hope you've breathed in with the wondrous invitation of Jesus to lay your heavy burden on him, find his unforced rhythms of grace. And I hope all of us this morning, this afternoon, this evening, will take the call to be fresh air into a squalid society, to be light in the dark, to be proof of the creator of that scene you're in, and of that Jesus who you walked with. And, can I add, will continue to walk with as the day goes on, because he's always Emmanuel, God with us. Lord, take us into the day, breathing in the calm that your presence brings, breathing in the faithfulness that you have been through history, and breathing out the fresh air and light and proof of Jesus, the light of the world. In his name.